Bart's entire personality boils down to having childish fights. But what if a singular elementary school fight could change Bart's entire life and reveal a long-lost history about his short life as a 10-year-old?
Anybody want to wait for Shine?
Yeah, definitely Shine.
We've all seen the iconic Simpson couch, but today we get to see how the couch actually gets to the family. It turns out that the couch has a loving family and a morning routine. It wakes up, gets ready, has breakfast, and it even has to commute to the house before taking up its role as the trustworthy family couch. An average day of dangerous sports activities is underway at Springfield Elementary as the students play a round of dodgeball. Surely a school with some of the worst bullies can afford to let its unruly children play such an unpredictable game. As expected, the kids are excited, but soon the 4th Gators are entirely overtaken by the 5th graders. Only 4 kids are left from Bart's class, and their opponent is an older 5th grader who looks like he has bullied quite a few children in his day. During the match, Bart imagines what it would be like to take down the 5th grader. He imagines becoming the dodgeball champion of the world and then turning into a superhero, just normal childhood fantasies that are quickly destroyed by reality. The match begins, and the 5th grader manages to take down every single 4th grader. Only Bart remains, and he puts up a good fight. Bart manages to take down the 5th grader, and the smaller class celebrates this victory. It looks like Bart securing this victory is a new accomplishment for the 4th graders. But things quickly turn sour when the 5th grader catches the falling ball. The referee, who doesn't get paid enough for this shit, declares the 5th graders the winner of the match, and this is basically the start of an outright war between the 4th and 5th graders.
I hate you 5th graders!
The 4th graders are ruthless in their retaliation. They spare absolutely no one. And soon, 5th graders are returning to their classes as if they are wounded war soldiers. Even the teacher's lounge is rife with tension, because the 5th grade teachers think they are better than the loser 4th grade teachers who don't know how to teach children. It doesn't take long for things to get ugly with the adults as well. The 5th graders also ramp up their insults to the 4th graders, and Bart has finally had enough. He challenges the 5th graders to a proper fight after school, and they promise to meet no matter what. The two opposing forces finally confront each other after school, as Bart lays down the rules of what's not allowed. The rules are more for the sake of the 5th graders, because at this point, Bart is ready to kill a man.
Then let's do this thing.
Bart and the 5th grader circle each other. They think they look tough, but the two kids only look like small weaklings trying to prove a worthless point. But before the two actually hit each other, Bart notices a strange scar on the other boy's hand. This scar is interesting because Bart has a similar one on his hand, but he has no recollection of when he got the scar. This new discovery stops the fighting for now, as the scar raises new questions. In order to understand where he got the scar, Bart goes to the bullies, hoping that these ingrates would be the ones who caused it. But that is not the case. Bart then heads over to his house where he questions Marge about the scar. Marge was hoping that Bart would never ask about this mysterious sword-shaped scar on his hand. After all, what kid would want to know about the cool injury on their hand? But Marge finally decides to come clean. Marge explains to Bart that when he was younger, she used to take him to a mommy and me toddler gym. Marge was part of a group where the ladies liked to pretend they weren't overworked mums. Meanwhile, their kids ended up becoming friends with Bart, and the group of toddlers would cause a lot of trouble. It was clear that these kids should not be friends under any circumstances. Hearing about these distant memories makes Bart remember the good old times, when things were much simpler and there was no low-funded public school or girls with cooties. Marge then shares a photo of Marge with her old friends. Apparently they called themselves the Cool Mums, but Marge has not met these ladies in a while, and even seeing the old photo makes her feel bad. So, in order to make things right, Marge decides to get the old gang back together. Later on, the other memes of the Cool Mum Club finally meet with Marge. While the ladies are having fun talking about old memories, their husbands are relenting the loss of their last bits of free time, no one is happy to be there, except for Homer, who is surprisingly pretty chill.
Whatever. Why are we getting together again? I was so happy when it stopped.
The husbands continue to have their own awkward reunion, as Homer tries to make things more light-hearted. Meanwhile, Bart and the others marvel over their matching scars. None of them have any idea as to why they have the scar in the first place. But that doesn't matter, because the 5th graders want to spend time doing dangerous stunts and being reckless. Even though that is exactly the type of thing that Bart usually enjoys, he isn't really vibing with the kids. Marge is the only one who is laughing heartily with her old friends. Even Homer is left miserable with the stuck-up loser dads. After the strange reunion, Bart tells Marge that his old companions are quite intense. This is good news for Marge because she has already set up another meeting with Bart and the kids. Bart tries to hide his disappointment, but it's clear his Scar companions did not leave a good impression on him.
I'm glad you had fun because we're all getting together next week.
Great, great.
Marge will also be having a girls' night, and she wants Homer to stay at home and look after the kids for once. The day of the meeting finally arrives, and Marge gets the chance to have a fancy dinner with the girls. But it is clear that Marge is not used to such small acts of freedom. She keeps acting like her kids are at the table and annoying her. The other mums realise that Marge has a real problem. She is always in mom mode, and the only solution to help out Marge is to force her to have insufferable hangout sessions every Tuesday. Meeting every Tuesday is unheard of in Marge's world, but she forces her brain to make some room for a social life. After a long while, Marge arrives back home, and Homer is satisfied to see Marge finally having some fun for herself. Marge ends up keeping Homer awake the entire night by yapping about her girls' night. For the first time, Homer is in bed, being the responsible one, and Marge is the drunk one annoying others. Now Marge's entire life has changed. She spends her time hanging out with the girls, while Homer continues to have awkward interactions with the other unamused dads. Bart is also not really having fun with his new friends. They keep forcing him to carry out dangerous stunts, and then Bart gets mocked when he fails to impress his poser friends. Once Bart is back home, Lisa finds her brother with several remotes in his mouth because the other boys dared him to do it. Lisa realizes that her brother is a lost cause, but he could still be saved if Marge learns of Bart's true feelings. Bart is also tired of the constant humiliation, and he decides to discover what truly drove apart the friends several years ago. So, the two siblings head over to the comic book guy because he seems to know the origin behind the scar. As expected, the comic book guy is just pretentious and refuses to open his mouth. But Bart tries to coerce him by threatening to ruin a super rare, mint condition comic book. The type of thing the comic book guy would definitely enjoy.
No, I'll tell you what you want to know.
The comic book guy finally decides to share the truth, but like a true comic book nerd, the guy starts with his own backstory. Bart does not have time for all this yapping, and he tells the comic book guy to get straight to the point. Apparently, 7 years ago, Springfield was celebrating the 4th of July, and a huge fireworks show was promised. Everyone was excited for the event to commence, and out of everyone in town, the comic book guy was chosen to operate the fireworks because he was bound to be lonely and sober on the day. At first, the fireworks were going off smoothly, and everyone enjoyed the sight of the bright lights. But then, Bart and his group of menacing toddlers decided to mess things up. While the comic book guy was carefully handling his precious sandwich, Bart and the toddlers messed up the system and caused the fireworks to explode together. Soon, chaos and carnage spread far and wide, as the fireworks scared everyone away. The explosion caused the comic book guy's sandwich to disintegrate, and the 4 sword-shaped toothpicks in the bread burned scars on the 4 toddlers. That day, the comic book guy lost his most precious companions, and he still misses that sandwich. Now that Bart has learned the truth, he plans on causing another explosion so that Marge thinks the other boys are a bad influence on her son, and she leaves the cool mom group once more. But Marge herself makes the grim discovery of her child playing with explosives, and the boy decides to come clean. Bart tells his mother that he misses his old mom, the one who was always tired and worried after everyone else. Marge finds this very touching, but she tells Bart that for once in her life, she needs something for herself, and Marge ruthlessly breaks Bart's heart by rejecting his plea. Later on, Marge shares the story of Bart's rebellion with the other cool mums, but instead of laughing with her, the other mums end up making fun of Marge for having such a reckless child. Marge does not stand for this slander against her troubled boy. Marge basically tells the other women to join therapy together instead of having insipid lunches. She finally realizes how toxic this so-called club is and leaves. With Marge gone, the other ladies can finally do what their club was actually created for.
Come here, you.
Marge is now back to her boring old self. Lisa and Bart try to comfort their mother by giving her some well-intended company, but everyone forgot about Homer, and he is still stuck in a hellish limbo of awkward conversations. Dads are so bad. For the first time in his life, Homer is glad to see Ned Flanders. But speaking of Flanders, did you know that he wasn't the Ned we always knew? There's actually a real reason he became religious. If you want to know why, check this video next, but not before leaving your like and subscription.